before I get into this, did you see this thing about RFK Jr. and the brain parasite that he had?
No.
Back in like 2010, apparently, doctors found out that he had a tapeworm in his brain. I am terrified of there being a parasite that enters my brain.
Well, you know why? Because you watch sci-fi.
No, it's because I am absolutely I'm terrified of being alive while losing control of my ability to control myself. I've died slow once. I'd like to go very quickly the next time.
The next time. Very good.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Generally Assembled, your favorite House Republican podcast. My name is Jason Gottesman, joined by Chairman, Representative Jesse Topper. Something I've been meaning to ask you is how is it that you, as an umpire, prepare for a baseball game? Like, what is the prep there?
So, and I actually do the same for both baseball and basketball. I do have a routine. Now, I will admit it's a little more difficult sometimes in baseball because our games start earlier. So sometimes I don't have the lead up I would like. Maybe I'm going right from work to the field. But what I like to do, I have this in the basement. I have this little piece of exercise machinery called a rebounder. It's like a mini trampoline where you can get loose, and I do that. I try and stretch and get loose at the house even before I get in the car to head to a ball game because I'm getting older and sore, more and more sore after each game. And then I usually watch on YouTube. I bring up there's a channel called for basketball officials and for baseball officials that go through scenarios. And so for that 15 minutes while I'm loosening up, I go over one scenario, kind of a weird thing, maybe a weird application of a rule that happened in a game somewhere. Watch that, kind of gets my mind into the rule book a little bit and gets my body loosened up, and then I go up and finish packing my bag and I head out. But I like to get myself in the right frame of mind from a rules standpoint, think about a rule scenario, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about on my trip. And then also physically, it does take me a little longer than it used to get ready, particularly for a basketball game. For a basketball game, once I get to the school,
you're running the whole time.
Right. Once I get to a school, I'll usually run the halls a little bit. I'll try and do anything I can to get my body physically ready for that night. But I think one of the best things that any official can do, young or veteran, is get a little bit of time in the rule book each day, but particularly the days you work a game, because it gets your mind starting to think about plays and scenarios that could happen.
Well, thinking about plays and scenarios that can happen, some serious setting of the budget table happened this week. Not necessarily in our chamber, although there were a few pieces that did move related to the budget here. And the budget, I don't mean like the actual general appropriations bill, but I'm talking about overall priorities. So one of them was paying for healthcare costs that moved a little bit in the House. But the Senate is where a lot of this action took place. And a really incredible $3 billion tax cut led by a reduction of the personal income tax and the elimination of the gross receipts tax, which would immediately inject more money into the pockets of Pennsylvanians, not only with the PIT tax cut, but by eliminating this onerous tax on Pennsylvania's energy bills.
And the consumers would receive the direct result of the cut of the gross receipts tax,
right.
The GRT as we call it here in inside Capitol speak. This money would go into the pockets of Pennsylvanians. And I think the governor, when he came out with his budget address, a lot of emphasis has been placed on the quote-unquote surplus, right?
Yeah.
We have more money than we do programs in which to spend them on. Well, when that happens, there's three options. You can just not spend the money or give it back and just put it away. You can create new programs, which, by the way, will be in your budget moving forward year after year after year and grow year after year after year. Or you can give some of it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as Republicans, fundamentally, our message has always been, you know how to spend your money better than government does. So I am thrilled. I've been talking about this as well. I know many of the members of our caucus. Now that we have this surplus that some of us have not seen since our time here in terms of the amount of money available, this is the perfect opportunity to inject money into the economy through the private sector by giving it back to our citizens. And I think it's a great idea. Obviously we're in the minority in the House, but many of us have been talking about it. The Senate, who's in the majority, advanced it. And what I think it does, it really sets the table for when we start having budget negotiations. This is what we believe. We actually believe we should give some of this back directly to people for them to use, directly to families, directly to individuals, so that they can use it the way they see fit, so that they can save, pay bills, whatever it is that they need to do with that money, pay off debt, go get a new car, whatever they choose. It's better if they choose to do it than if we choose to do it for them.
Yeah, and it's just making life a little bit easier. As Pennsylvanians have been bearing the brunt of bad fiscal and energy policies and only seeing their costs go up, it's a way to recognize that those same taxpayers have made an investment in this Commonwealth, and that investment has paid off, and now we are in a position to be able to reinvest back into them directly, not just to the communities, not just to the infrastructure, not just to economic development, but to say to each and every Pennsylvanian who pays taxes into this Commonwealth and pays energy bills, you deserve a break. And we're going to give you a break because you've helped the state through a tough time. You've continued to show up. You've driven the economy through the pandemic. This position that we're in would not have happened if not for the Pennsylvania taxpayers on some level, be that through paying money into the federal government when there was stimulus and money to the states, or paying money directly to the Commonwealth or sales and use tax, which has really helped and bolstered our tax revenues, while some of the other tax drivers have not been performing sales and use taxes up. So it's saying you deserve to have that break to you.
And I would caution everybody, you're going to hear some messaging from the other side that's going to talk about how much a tax cut costs us. I don't view it as a cost to state government. I view it as a savings for the people who pay for state government.
Sure.
This is not our money. This is fundamentally not our money. We are stewards of it.
Yep.
And so now we have an opportunity as good stewards of the people's money to say, we don't need all of this. Because if we continue to just start new programs, you're going to look 7 years down the road, those programs aren't going away, right? They're going to continue to grow. The budget's going to continue to grow. And when we hit fiscally tough times, we're still going to have to ask the people for more money to fund things that they should have been, doing themselves in the first place, right?
Yep.
Funding their own lives instead of us trying to fund their lives for them. It's absolutely the right time. It's absolutely the right message. And it's absolutely the right policy. And I'm fully, I'm excited. This is when all of us ran for office the first time as Republicans. This is what we talk about, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about the private sector spending money better than the public sector. Mm-hmm. And now we get a chance to really have an opportunity to put our money where our mouth is. And I'm excited to move it forward and hopefully have that be a real part of these budget discussions.
Yeah. And look, spending down, some of these reserves has been a point of consternation. For a long time, especially as we were still moving out of the wilderness of the pandemic, it was not prudent to do so. It looked like we were staring down the barrel of a recession. Economy's not great. Still, there's still a lot of economic issues.
And we still, regardless of how well we're doing economically, we know that we still have to have a robust rainy day fund,
right,
because that is how you protect taxpayers in the future as
Correct.
well.
Correct.
So it's good fiscal stewardship.
Right.
But at some point, you can only have so much.
Well, right. But when you have this much in extra money, government is not unlike regular people, where it goes, well, now what can I do with this money?
Right.
Right. And
we're not just going to let it sit there.
Right. You have two choices. You have what the governor put on the table in his budget address, which is new programs at recurring costs that will drive the growth and expansion of government year after year, that will only be paid for by higher taxes at the end because we're going to run out of that surplus money. Or what Senate Republicans put forward, which is we can take that money, reinvest it in Pennsylvanians, who will then go back out and spend that money and put it back into the economy naturally. That, to me, sounds like something that is far more prudent than let's just grow government. It's let's grow the economy. A good economy, a healthy economy, and people with money in their pockets delivers more to government.
Right. It's not the other way around, and we have always said that. We've always been a private sector first, government second. Yes, there is a role for government, and yes, it does cost money and all those things. But if you have a state that is doing well economically in the private sector, they're going to be doing fine in the public sector. And we see this really, I always turn it back to education. Mm-hmm. We see that in communities. When there are communities that are in crisis, we have schools in crisis, right? Mm-hmm. When communities are in crisis financially, who does that affect? It affects the schools. You want to see those schools rise in their ability to, well, those communities need to rise economically, right? It helps. It is all part of an ecosystem that only works if the private sector is flourishing. And I think that's what this tax package will do.
And I really hope we don't get caught in this discussion of, the tax cut really isn't all that much money. It's to the individual taxpayer. That is a dangerous argument to get into from the other side of the aisle, because they are the ones who are constantly talking about providing more benefits. If a direct return of taxpayer dollars to the taxpayers is not enough, then what do the benefits do?
Well, ask people what they would do with saving $50 a month in energy costs. Ask them what they would do with $200 invest. Those are not big numbers.
I mean, you're just $250. That's a couple weeks worth of groceries.
That's right. Those are real. Like you save that per month. You're talking about multiple car payments. You're talking about a lot that you can do to just take a little bit of that pressure off and allow people to breathe a little more financially and economically. That's what we should be doing. And then they get to determine how they spend other dollars that they now have in their possession.
And I'm sure just like everybody, when I was young, I certainly wasn't making a lot of money. It was tough to make ends meet. If somebody would have come to me and been like, hey, we're going to give you $75 back a month. We're going to increase the money in your pocket by $75 a month. That's the difference between so much.
Yep.
It's the difference between staying up at night, putting more money on the credit card, wondering what bills you're going to pay, wondering how you're going to juggle the credit cards and all the stuff that you have going to try to make your life work. It makes it just a little bit easier.
Yep.
Something you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And worry a little bit less about.
That's right. And it's the right policy. Because otherwise, how are we going to spend that $75 a month? Well, again, we're going to turn that into not a $75 cost per taxpayer. We're going to turn it into a $1,000 cost per taxpayer because we're going to start a new program. Yeah. That's the only way you can be fiscally sound in these times. We've said it before, two toughest times to get a budget done, right? When you have not enough money, when you have too much money. Well, one of the ways you can handle that, let's give some of it back.
All right, sitting here May 8th, what do you think the odds are of a June 30th budget?
Look, I'm an optimist. I'm a Pirates fan. I know what it's like to be optimistic.
So you're gonna root for a good outcome, but expect a poor result.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Look, there is an absolutely. I believe there is a path to get this thing done. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, whether all the parties at the table are going to go ahead and decide to drive down that path, I don't know. But I believe that there's a better than 50-50 shot that it gets done because of one critical component. This is that year, right? This is that year that nobody wants to be in July and August back home telling people why they can't get it done. I think they would much rather be at home telling people why they did get it done. And that's why I think we have a shot to do it.
Well, all right. Think we've accomplished our legislative purpose here today?
Yeah, we've covered some good tax policy. But by the way, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I don't know what shows you're kind of into right now, but a show that I've caught up on and really like. It's on ABC called Will Trent.
I have not watched Will Trent, but I have noticed, because we watch another one that's similar, which is Tracker on CBS.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've watched on Amazon Reacher. Did you watch Reacher?
Yeah, big fan.
So
of Reacher.
Reacher was so popular now that every network is trying to get its own version of Reacher, which is a single guy, not tied to anything, that is geared towards true justice. So Will Trent's one of those, my understanding. I know he works for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, right? Yeah. Tracker is one of those.
Yeah, Trent's a little bit. It's a little bit more of a. Will Trent is a little bit more of a traditional cop show, if you will.
Yeah.
But the kind of the kicker for that is he has dyslexia.
Okay.
So he has to do everything. Reading is very difficult for him.
Yeah.
And so that's also another component that I find really captivating about that particular show, is watching him navigate the life that he grew up in, tough life, kind of what you described, felt on his own, grew up in different homes as an orphan. But then the way he uses all of that to his advantage in this very brilliant brain of his in solving crime. It's really, I've really grown to enjoy it. Reacher was great. The movie was great with Tom Cruise.
Yep.
But the show, I thought I think the couple seasons of Jack Reacher were really good.
Tom Cruise, I was a big fan of the Jack Reacher books. I read about 6 of them. There's a lot more than that when I was down for surgery several years ago. And they're just, they're brain candy. They're ones you could sit down and like an hour get through like 120 pages.
Yep.
They go quick. But, Reacher is, when Tom Cruise did it, Jack Reacher is kind of like a guy like yourself, right? He's athletic. He's built like, he's the character that's on the Amazon series. And you're not as big as the Amazon guy, but but Tom Cruise is like 5'5".
Right.
Now,
he didn't quite fit the he didn't quite fit the
there
mold,
was a
right.
lot of Reacher, Jack Reacher fans who were really upset how Tom Cruise portrayed Reacher.
Just the physical.
Well, and it was because his studio bought the rights to it at first, that he was like, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to play Jack Reacher.
You know where else that was actually a lot of Civil War fans. It was the movie Gettysburg, which is kind of the classic. I mean, Jeff Daniels as Joshua Chamberlain. They did it at Gettysburg. It was but the one critique that many true historians had of Gettysburg was Martin Sheen's portrayal of Robert E. Lee. Not that Sheen did a bad job portraying him, but it was the stature. Robert E. Lee was a big guy, very tall, and Martin Sheen, of course, very short actor. It's amazing how, I want to say, sophisticated a lot of fans are, whether they're about a book series or about history. They want to see that person actually be what they had in their mind.
Right.
When you read a book, you already put in your mind what that character looks like. Or when you do history, you already have in your mind what that person looked like. You want to see the actor or actress playing that person kind of fit that, and that's another good example of that. Because the new Reacher, that guy fits the book.
He does. A couple other good shows though. I don't know if you have Apple TV Plus at all. Manhunt, which is it's a limited series. It's about the hunt for the John Wilkes Booth conspirators.
I saw Masters of the Air on Apple TV.
So,
that was the one that I watched, which I thought
that's very good. Manhunt is also good. Okay. Slow Horse is on there. It's a British.
I admit I only did Apple Plus when I had the trial. So
that's fine.
I got the trial so I could watch Masters of the Air.
I mean, Master of the Air started good, and then it petered out at the end.
So the way I viewed Masters of the Air was it started out really, I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, super strong.
Then there was that period of time that there was like 3 or 4 episodes that I actually struggled to watch it. Like I kind of forced myself to get back in it. And then I thought the last 2 episodes finished.
It picked up
strong
at the end.
But there was that 3/4 of the way through, I know exactly what you mean, where I was kind of like, I didn't like where it went, or I just wasn't as into it. But then I was pleased with the way it ended.
Yes, the ending was good. I in preparation for the Apple series to come out, I read the book Masters of the Air, and the book keeps going in a way that is draws your attention.
It's amazing to me when you have a book and you have either a miniseries or a movie that portrays the book. A lot of it's timing. When did you read the book and when did you watch either show or movie?
Right.
One thing that I made a mistake of was Killers of the Flower Moon. Great book. I read the book, and literally the day I finished the book, which I just was in love with, I watched the movie.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because immediately I wanted the movie to be, you can't. And look, Killers of the Flower Moon was a long movie. Like they still went 3 hours and you still couldn't capture a lot of the book, but you just can't. There is that time that I should have left between when I stopped the book and I should have given that time to breathe and then gone back and watched the movie. Both were very well done, by the way. But I just felt a little bit emptier after the movie because it didn't match everything you could capture in the book.
Lily Gladstone, who played the Native American woman there, University of Montana graduate. Actually, we were there at the same time.
Really?
I didn't know her, but we were
fantastic. She was amazing.
I'm sure I laid eyes on her. It's not. I mean, it's a big school, but not that big.
No, it was a great movie, great book.
All right. Well, I could talk about this stuff all day, but
so could I.
There is important legislative business in front of us, so we will. Not really me. I just tell people, but certainly you.
Me, yeah, I got to push the red and green button today.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's generally assembled for this week. You can catch us where all of your favorite House Republican podcasts are found, on Apple, on Spotify, and on YouTube. And of course, right here, wherever you're watching us, continue to watch us. All right. Again, that's it for this week. We will be back here as soon as possible for another Generally Assembled. So stay tuned right here. We're out.